What kind of person puts someone else's home up for sale out of spite? That question burned in my mind as I stood on the gravel path leading to my family's lake cabin, the place where my childhood summers bloomed with laughter and fireflies. The cabin wasn't just wood and nails. It was my father's dream, built with his calloused hands, a sanctuary for our family after he passed. Now, a garish for sale sign stabbed into the lawn, its red letters screaming betrayal. Karen, the HOA president, had done this. She'd always hated me, hated the cabin's unpolished charm, its defiance of her cookie-cutter neighborhood rules. I'd ignored her petty fines for years and mowed grass, an unpainted fence, but this was war. I'd inherited the cabin 5 years ago when Dad died. It was a modest place, with creaky floors and a porch that sagged like an old friend's smile. Every summer, I'd bring my kids, Lily and Max, to fish in the lake and roast marshmallows under the stars. Karen, though, saw it as an eyesore. Her manicured lawn and gaudy mansion down the road were her pride, and she wielded her HOA power like a scepter. She'd send letters, leave voicemails, even show up at my door, her voice sharp as a blade, demanding I fix the cabin or sell it. I'd laugh her off, thinking her threats were just noise, until the day I got a call from a realtor. "Mr. Ellis, I'm calling about your cabin listing. We've got an offer." My stomach dropped. I hadn't listed anything. Fury carried me to Karen's doorstep that evening. Her house was a monument to excess white columns, a fountain gurgling in the yard, windows gleaming like they were polished hourly. She opened the door, her round face smug, eyes glinting with victory. "You've got some nerve," I said, holding up the realtor's email. She didn't flinch. "Your cabin's a blight, Tom. I did the neighborhood a favor. The HOA has authority to act in the community's best interest." I was stunned. She'd forged my signature, manipulated HOA bylaws, and listed my property without consent. I wanted to scream, to tear down her perfect world, but I knew rage wouldn't win this. I needed a plan. The next morning, I sat in a lawyer's office, my hands shaking as I handed over the forged documents. My attorney, Sarah, leaned back, her eyes narrowing. "This is fraud, Tom. We can nail her for this, but it'll take time. The cabin sale is already in motion." Time was something I didn't have. The realtor had buyers circling, and Karen's smugness grew by the day. I spent nights poring over legal papers, barely sleeping, my kids asking why I looked so tired. I couldn't tell them their summer haven was slipping away because of a vindictive neighbor. Then, Sarah called with a bombshell. "Tom, Karen's house is in foreclosure. She's been dodging payments, hiding it behind her HOA facade. It's going up for auction next week." A spark ignited in my chest. Foreclosure. Karen, the queen of perfection, was drowning in debt. It was almost too perfect. I'd spent years scraping by, keeping the cabin afloat on a teacher's salary, while Karen flaunted her wealth. Now, the tables had turned. I didn't have much, but I had enough savings, and the auction was my chance. I spent days researching, crunching numbers, and talking to bankers. The plan was reckless, but it felt right. If Karen wanted to play dirty, I'd play smarter. At the auction, I sat in the back, heart pounding, as the gavel fell. Karen's mansion, her pride. Her castle was mine for a fraction of its value. When I told Sarah, she laughed, a rare crack in her professional armor. "You're a madman, Tom. But this could work. We'll use her own game against her. We filed a lawsuit against Karen for fraud, using the forged listing as evidence. The cabin sale was halted, but I wasn't done. Owning her house gave me leverage, a way to hit her where it hurt. I sent her a notice: vacate the premises or face eviction. The irony was delicious. She tried to steal my home, and now I held the keys to hers. But as the court date approached, a twist unraveled my confidence. A letter arrived from Karen's lawyer, claiming she'd been acting under duress, manipulated by a shady real estate developer who'd promised to save her from foreclosure. Was she a villain or a pawn? I didn't buy it. Karen's story reeked of desperation, a last-ditch effort to dodge accountability. But doubt crept in. What if she was telling the truth? I tracked down the developer, a slick man named Greg Harper, who'd been sniffing around the neighborhood for years. Over coffee, he admitted to pressuring Karen, dangling financial rescue in exchange for her HOA influence to push out undesirable properties like mine. It didn't absolve her. She'd chosen to betray me, but it complicated things. I saw her not as a monster, but as a woman cornered by her own pride, willing to destroy others to save herself. It made what came next harder, but not impossible. The court date arrived, and the neighborhood buzzed with gossip. Karen stood in the courtroom, her usual bravado gone, replaced by a trembling lip and red-rimmed eyes. I almost felt sorry for her. The judge was merciless, ruling in my favor. The cabin was safe, and Karen's fraud was exposed. But the real climax came outside, on her own front lawn. 2 court marshals arrived, their boots crunching on her perfect gravel drive. I stood across the street, holding the deed to her house, watching as they handed her the eviction notice. Her face crumpled, not with anger, but with shame. Neighbors whispered, their eyes darting between us. I'd won, but victory tasted bitter. Karen's downfall was the talk of the town. Her mansion, once a symbol of her dominance, stood empty, its fountain silent. I moved in, not out of spite, but because I needed a fresh start. The cabin was safe, but the memories of this fight lingered, tainting its peace. My kids ran through Karen's old house, their laughter echoing off the high ceilings. But I couldn't shake the weight of what I'd done. I'd fought fire with fire, and while I'd saved my home, I'd torn hers apart. Karen moved into a small apartment across town, her HOA crown stripped away. The neighborhood elected a new president, and the petty rules relaxed. But the scars remained. One evening, as I sat on the cabin's porch, watching the lake shimmer under the moon, Lily came out with a question. Dad, why did Karen hate us so much? I didn't have an easy answer. I told her about pride, about how people cling to control when they're scared of losing it. I told her about forgiveness, too, because as much as Karen had hurt us, I saw now that she was human, flawed and broken like the rest of us. I didn't want my kids growing up with hate in their hearts. That night, I wrote Karen a letter, not to gloat, but to offer peace. I didn't expect a reply, and I didn't get one, but it felt right. The twist with Greg Harper haunted me, though. He'd slithered away, unscathed, while Karen took the fall. I dug deeper, sharing what I'd learned with the neighborhood. Together, we filed complaints, and Harper's shady deals came under scrutiny. It wasn't justice for Karen, but it was a step toward cleaning up the mess she'd been part of. The cabin became our haven again, its creaky floors and sagging porch more precious than ever. I started fixing it up, not for the HOA, but for my kids, for the summers we'd reclaim. The for sale sign was long gone, burned in a bonfire with Max cheering as the flames licked the sky. Looking back, I realized this wasn't just about a cabin or a house. It was about standing up when someone tries to take what's yours, about fighting for what matters without losing yourself in the process. Karen's mistake was thinking power came from control, from tearing others down. Mine was almost letting anger define me. I chose differently. I chose to rebuild, to forgive, to teach my kids that even in the ugliest fights, there's a way to hold on to your heart. The lake cabin stands today, not just as a place, but as a promisito keep going, to find light even after the storm. And as the sun sets over the water, painting the sky in hues of gold and hope, I know we're home. The end.